activities long reserved for humans. They can play on a par with the best chess player in the world, the best poker players. They've even done well against humans in the game show Jeopardy. But can a computer write a short story or a sonnet indistinguishable from what a human could produce? That's the question we take on for this week's All Tech Answer. NPR's Joe Costa is here to walk us through this. He first told us about a competition sponsored by computer scientists at Dartmouth College, which tried to answer that question last year. For his series, Joe's big idea. Joe, thanks for coming in.
You're very welcome.
Why did scientists want to get people to create computer programs that can write sonnets or short stories?
Well, the idea was to see if they could understand human nature enough and computer science enough to pass something that's called the Turing test, named after the British computer scientist Alan Turing, who said, if you can pass the Turing test, it means you've written a program that generates an output, sonnet in this case, that's indistinguishable from what a human sonnet writer could do.
Well, I was actually a judge in this competition.
Sure.
I got 10 poems, and I had to pick out which were written by computer programs and which were written by humans.
Right, and now what we're going to do, Robert, is we have two more poems for you to listen to and judge. So let's hear the first one now.
Create an endless voting paradox until another day of constant leaving becomes a tiny little music box, and our ideas have become misleading. The people know exactly where or whether, remember me without an honest word. The very moment we belong together, another simple story so absurd. I take a message from a repetition, and never ever follow my regards, or not forget the secret definition, or come together like a house of cards. And I consider you a friend of mine. Think about the other equal sign.
Okay, that was the first one. 14 lines.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and now let's hear the second.
Adjust my aperture towards the deep sky. Behold the gems of heaven on this world. Pray my gaze will not be sullied by the light from the strip and the street malls and suburbs. Discover in the glass the Pleiades, those sisters, 7 sapphires in the dark, glowed pretty, keen with visibility, the celestial beings who guide my heart. But through the other microlens I see an eye for science, an iris clear blue, more stirring than the whirlpool galaxy, much brighter than the craters of the moon. Which lens could I look through for longer time, observing each vast creation differently?
Okay, so is the first one human or computer?
The first one was a computer. And the second one was human, yes.
Well, actually, you're correct. The computer-generated poem came from a team that submitted to this Turing test competition from the University of Southern California Information Sciences Institute, and the other poem was written by the human being, Caroline Weinroth, who responded to All Things Considered Twitter call-out for sonnet, so thanks, Caroline. But we're really interested in the computer program. That's the one we want to discuss, and I want to bring in computer science professor Daniel Rockmore, the man behind this big Dartmouth competition, to tell us more about it.
Professor Rockmore, you know, the computer-generated poem that we just had recited here, to me, create an endless voting paradox until another day of constant leaving becomes a tiny little music box. Could it become a quarter pound of blocks? It makes no less sense. The computer-generated poems have rhyme, they have meter, but they don't mean anything. And the other poem is an image, and it's about observation and light, and to me, it's a pretty unbridgeable gap there. What do you think?
Well, so first of all, I agree with what you said. On the other hand, having heard it declaimed so beautifully, I wasn't fooled, but I enjoyed it. I think what you're referring to, or how I view it as narrative, is a very difficult thing, I think, to program to the point. You can get sensible phrases, but then stringing them together to construct an overall narrative image is still quite a challenge, and that was really the point of the competition, and I hope we succeeded a little bit in that.
Well, from the 10 poems that I judged in the earlier competition, I found there were some by humans that were such well-developed or insightful images that the thought that a computer could do that, I would be both amazed if it could. I'd be terrified if it could, actually, because it would suggest a knowledge of human experience that I don't think machines have or should have, frankly. But do you think it's possible?
I mean, you phrased it in an interesting way. I mean, I don't know that I'd be terrified by that thought. I certainly would be impressed. Storytelling, I think many people have said, is maybe one of the things that is most human. And maybe in this competition, and by the ease with which you determined the machine sonnet, maybe you're just, reinforcing that. Maybe the competition is reinforcing that.
The thing that intrigued me about the competition to begin with is you have to understand humans before you can even start to think about writing a computer program. And so that's why I thought you had to understand something very fundamental about the creative process before you could write a computer program that could emulate it in a way that humans would be fooled by.
I think that's true. What the winning program did actually was try to think hard about the creative process of a sonnet, how you might open a sonnet, how a human being might rhyme or almost rhyme words. So it's certainly edging toward that. And I think that what happens once you start to dig deep into the particular process of sonnet writing, for example, is that you discover just how complicated it is. And so, like with many projects where you're thinking about people and what makes us human, you do begin to discover the complexity of that, and you appreciate it even more.
Yeah. I was impressed with the almost rhyme capacity of the programs. The big difference I found was that the human poets could hang with an idea for 14 lines, whereas I felt that the computer just couldn't hang in there. It would be in one place at the beginning and then someplace else.
I think that when we do this competition next year, this team, the USC team, was very interested to hear that, and we're already working on the next version. So we'll see if they get you next time.
Okay. Well, thanks to Professor Daniel Rockmore of Dartmouth College and to NPR's Joe Palfrey for this. You can test whether you can tell the poetry of humans from that of machines. We posted some poems on our All Tech Considered blog, which you can find at npr.org/alltech. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Support for All Tech Considered comes from Epson, offering cartridge-free printing with EcoTank, their refillable ink tank printer. EcoTank comes with up to 2 years of ink for printing up to 8,000 pages. And from Honda, maker of the restyled 2017 Ford Hybrid, with 212 horsepower and 49 miles per gallon EPA city rating. Available now. This is All Things Considered on NPR News. Support for NPR comes from NPR member stations and from Honda, maker of the restyled 2017 Ford Hybrid with 212 horsepower and 49 miles per gallon EPA city rating. Available now. Learn more at accord.honda.com. From Emily and Antoine Van Osten, supporting New Futures, which works to help low-income D.C. area youth graduate from community college or certificate programs and become financially self-sufficient. Information is available at newfuturesdc.org. And from Atlassian, maker of collaboration software Jira, Confluence, HipChat, and Bitbucket. Atlassian works to help teams across industries ascend to new heights to create what's next. At Atlassian.com. Atlassian. Team up.
This is GPB Atlanta with news and information from Georgia Public Broadcasting on 88.5 FM, Georgia State University's WRAS and WRAS HD1 Atlanta. Stay tuned for Marketplace, starting in less than a minute at 6 o'clock. It goes Kyra's Law here on Atlanta's NPR News Station, 88.5 GPB Atlanta. Support for GPB comes from our generous members and PNC Wealth Management. PNC's wealth team can provide insight and guidance to help their clients achieve more. Information is available from Cindy Widener-Wall at 404-879-1343. And Columbus State University, a fast-growing institute of higher learning, attracting students from Georgia and beyond with emerging fields of study in cybersecurity, integrated media, and environmental science. Information at columbusstate.edu. Stay with us for Marketplace. You're tuned to GPB Atlanta. Time now is 6 o'clock. Marketplace is supported by Magoosh, online test prep for the GMAT, GRE, LSAT, SAT, ACT, TOEFL, and Praxis. Prep smart, go far, and enjoy the ride at Magoosh.com.
Stop me if you've heard this one before, alright? An Englishman, a Scotsman, and an Irishman walked into a bar, and then they all had to leave, because the Englishman wanted to go. Pretty good, huh? From American Public Media, this is Marketplace.
Marketplace is supported by Wix.com. Every business needs a website. With Wix.com, you can do it all by yourself with images, videos, text, and social media. Learn more at Wix.com.
In Los Angeles, I'm Kyle Rosal. It is Monday, the 27th of June. Great to have you here, everybody. First of all, thanks to Twitter for the opening joke. If you're the one who came up with it, let me know. I'll give credit where credit is due, of course. Second of all, it is becoming increasingly clear here that what we have is a failure to communicate. This is David Cameron, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, speaking in the House of Commons this very morning.
Mr. Speaker, we can reassure European citizens living here and Brits living in European countries that there will be no immediate changes in those circumstances. Neither will there be any initial change in the way our people can travel, in the way our goods can move, or the way our services can be sold.
No immediate or initial changes being the operative phrases there. Here's why I bring all of that up. Maybe you could hashtag it as regrets over the Brexit, because at just about the same time as the Prime Minister was speaking, we went out on the streets in London and New York and asked people what they thought a Leave vote meant.
Even when I voted, I still thought that we would remain in the EU.
I went to bed Thursday night thinking I'm going to get up and still be in Europe Friday morning. I was shocked, stunned, and then scared.
I'm shocked that we actually have voted to leave. I didn't think that was going to happen. My vote, I didn't think was going to matter too much.
I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. I think, in a way, it's the end of the British Empire.
A disaster.
It should be said here that 2 days of market indigestion do not a disaster make. So let's say that outright. We are a long way from the end of the world. That said, the global economic buzzword for the foreseeable future is clearly uncertainty. Exhibits A and B today are the ratings agencies S&P and Fitch downgrading the UK's debt today off of its AAA top-notch rating. The British currency, the pound sterling, fell to a fresh 31-year low against the dollar. What one is seeing here as a result is what is called in the trade a flight to quality, people seeking a safe haven for their money. Marketplace's Tracy Samuelson explains.
Let's start with a very small currency transaction. The guy in front of me at the bank today was buying pounds. He told the teller he wasn't traveling to the UK until August, but he wanted to get them now, quote, before the price stabilizes.
Well, he's got a 10% discount versus last week, so that's pretty good.
Kathy Jones is the fixed income strategist for Charles Schwab and Company. She says, yeah, right now, the pound is a good deal for American travelers. But investors want a safer place to put their money.
They've been buying treasury bonds and gold. Those have been the two places that have attracted the most in the way of capital.
Both are considered safe investments. Charles Tannenbaum, chief economist at the Northern Trust Company, says investors have also turned to the Japanese yen and the U.S. dollar.
We've seen a spreading risk aversion across investment classes in the trading days since the Brexit vote was released.
Demand for the yen and the dollar have increased their value. That's not good news for exporters in the U.S. and Japan, whose stuff gets more expensive compared to their global competitors. But Jim Paulson, chief investment strategist at Wells Capital Management, cautions against reading too much into these movements. He thinks a lot of people are actually taking a wait-and-see approach, not shifting investments.
And when everyone stops, guess what? Then a few people still playing have outsized impact. So you can have big market moves with very few playing.
And he says when the surprise of the vote wears off, investors will realize that any real changes from Brexit are likely still years away. I'm Tracy Samuelson for Marketplace.
You could make a case, at least based on today and Friday, that the market's buzzword of late ought to be volatility. That word, though, means very different things to Wall Street traders running complex investments and to average Americans managing their own retirement portfolios. Marketplace's Mark Garrison has both perspectives. Stock dips like we've seen Friday and today sometimes reverse when investors on the sidelines see good deals and start buying. Not in these volatile markets just yet. Brian Jacobson, Chief Portfolio Strategist at Wells Fargo Funds Management.
It doesn't look like there are many people who are stepping in.
When markets are sloshing around like this, some people step back to see if things get worse. Uncertainty about when and how Britain will actually leave the EU is giving investors pause.
You don't know exactly when that formal process is going to begin, and also who will be the players at the table negotiating.
Big swings in the market could be a reality until those questions get settled. Francisco Giraldo with Morningstar Investment Management doesn't see this volatility fading soon.
I don't think that a clearer path is going to be shown in the next day or two. This is a very complicated process.
When Wall Street says volatility could be here for a while, regular folks thinking about their retirement or college savings can wonder what moves they should make, if any. Financial planner Craig Larson sent out an alert after the Brexit results came in, urging people not to do anything rash.
Investors to our clients would essentially hang on. We might have some volatile times, but we're in it for the long haul.
And selling stocks in your retirement portfolio because of what happens today, tomorrow, or next week will cost a lot of money down the road. A good long-term retirement plan last week would still work after the Brexit vote. In New York, I'm Mark Garrison for Marketplace. Just 'cause